Namaskar everyone. This is Himadri from Mehendi Culture and Orange Training. But before I start anything about this session or introduce myself further, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the makers of this magnificent event who made this beautiful event come alive with their multiple hours and days and weeks and months of contribution. Great bit of hard work coming in from them, and that has been spectacular. I have seen the previous editions, and I have seen how much of enthusiasm the previous editions have, created, and what amount of knowledge the speakers and instructors have given to everyone. So, everyone at Henna Artists of the World Unite, thank you so much for making this great initiative and great event happen. Specifically, a deep word of gratitude to Neeta Desai Sharma, Neeta Ben for me, Neeta Di to a lot of people around. Neeta Ben has been very gracious when it comes to giving, and Neeta Ben, thanks a lot for making this platform available. I'm sure the previous sessions uh, during the day today, the other three sessions have had created massive ripples of enthusiasm. I do hope I live up to your expectations. I'd also like to thank my other colleague speakers, three of them who've already done their sessions and the one to follow. It would be, something of a record that today the mini marathon is happening with an all male crew. So it's a great bit for all of us, all the guys involved here, that we are in it with so much of greatness all around. Uh, this would not have had been possible had it not been for each of you. Thanks to each of you for joining in because well, if you were not watching, if you were not listening, I have no business speaking on this platform today. So thanks a lot for being around. And of course, I'd like to take a moment to thank my amazing team at Mehendi Culture, my co-founders, the wonderful artist, the person who drives everything that has got to do with creativity, our chief creative director, Nimisha, and the very beautiful contributor to the organization, the person who's the soul of Mehendi Culture, Sarita. Thanks a lot, folks, for being around and for allowing me to live this dream of giving the world a better organization, a great opportunity to celebrate themselves. Folks, once again, I thank everyone for being around. Uh, most of you know the name is Himadri, so it is Himadri Sinha. That's the name. I'm a henna aficionado with big dreams. I'm also a business and branding consultant, a social entrepreneur, and a talk show host. I love to, work with creatives, rather help creatives ditch their 9 to 5 jobs and unsubscribe from that starving artist mindset. I also love to encourage them to pursue their dreams while making money at it. Some lesser known facts about me. Well, I'm a dark chocolate advocate, former corporate animal, and I work extensively with my wife, Sarita, in a mission to create safe workplaces for women. My henna journey started way back in 2003 when I was running an 18-day training session, a workshop that was designed for an insurance company. And this was on sales and domain knowledge. And I had a group of participants. One of those participants was a spectacular, a human being, a tall, comely young girl. And she had a lot of spunk in her, a lot of life, and everything she had to do was with lots of joy. And this person was one of our best known salespersons around. uh, it was one of the most spectacular additions to the batch that a person comes in and has a great idea of how and where to sell insurance, life insurance actually. But it was later that I discovered that this young lady, she was far more capable at something else. And one more striking quality about her was far more pronounced beyond her selling skills, and that was her awe-inspiring and magical prowess as a henna artist. Mehndi Wali in local parlance, and that was what she was. I had never seen anybody do that kind of a Mehndi art ever in my life. And yes, you all have guessed it right. That's the person on your screen right now. She was in my batch at that time. 2003 was the year when she attended my workshop, and after that, things started taking off. And a few conversations later, I realized that selling insurance is not something that we should allow her to continue with, because she can create magic with something else, and that was create dreams through henna art. That journey, friends, continues, and in the last 17 years, I could help create three henna brands, all of which have become synonymous with great art, awesome innovation, and absolutely uncompromising ethical standards. Uh, the brands are Sakshi, the Mehndi Studio. That was the first solo brand that we put up, a studio. The first ever studio that came up in India for a Mehndi artist was Sakshi, the Mehndi Studio. And that was for Nimisha, and that was a long time back. And that was followed up with another brilliant brand called Henna Divine. And then finally, we've got Mehndi Culture, the brand that I represent today, the brand Nimisha represents, and the brand Sarita represents today. Mehndi Culture is the brand that, has now stayed in people's minds and hearts, and is making the world a better place. I repeat this, a better place, because of the mission that we have picked up. More on that during the course of our interaction today. So today I'm going to be spilling some green tea on what it takes to be a bona fide henna entrepreneur, or maybe a hennapreneur. That's a better term, more like it, more kind of the in kind of a term. Uh, I'm reminded of having read this someplace in one of the books, and I was reading about art. Art is one subject which I love to learn from and follow. I was reading something, and it was about Picasso. Picasso was in a studio, uh, and he had a visitor who stood in front of a painting for several minutes, unable to make out much of what he was watching or looking at. So he asked Picasso, "What does this painting represent?" And Picasso said, $200,000. Well, so do henna artists sell their artistic souls when they consider not just the aesthetic value of their work, but its monetary value? Well, most thoughtful artists are in it for the right reason, honestly creating work they feel passionate about, yet, and yes, hoping it will pay the bills. So, with that in mind, let's explore branding for henna artists. Shall I go ahead? I might not be able to read your, comments, so keep them coming in. Maybe post this session or later on, we'd be able to look at some of your questions and inputs, and maybe I'll be able to respond to that. I'm wearing my glasses, and then I know kind of the sharp lights are bothering me, so a little bit short of vision. So I'll read in everything you've said a little later once I'm done. Uh, so before we get started, I'd like to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to branding, and what exactly does it mean for all of us. And this is the first thing I want to do when we kick off this session, and when we would move ahead, because for most of the people, visual artists that almost everyone is, it seems that creating a logo is what branding is all about. Well, nothing wrong about having a logo, nothing wrong about having a great logo, but that is not going to get you money. Please understand, I do feel it's important to have a logo, but it is not what's going to get you the money. It's not going to make you money. So the brand logo is not the priority, okay? Many a times as a business owner, we'll find that, henna artists will come in and they'll be like, "Oh yes, I'm going to start a henna business, and the first thing I need to do is get myself a great logo, because my cones need to have a sticker, my packaging needs to have a logo, my IG feed needs to have everything that's got to have a logo on it. So let me go ahead and get a logo." uh, but designing a logo doesn't push sales. And I'm sure some of you who are experienced in this industry, they would echo my thoughts that having a great logo doesn't mean you're going to do great sales. So uh, I'd say that let's not think branding from a design perspective or from a visual presentation perspective, the colors and the stuff that the logo contains. Let's look at things beyond that, because it is a brand experience that is going to create yourself or create you into a brand that is iconic, that becomes legendary, and ultimately, as Picasso did, becomes a profitable brand. Picasso was the only one then who used to sell his business with a single word moniker, uh, beyond and before Cher and Madonna became popular. So we need to learn a bit about branding from Picasso, and we need to be a bit more savvy on that side. So it's not, like I said, it's not about getting things laid out on the Insta feed, but I feel that when we talk about branding, we need to approach branding from much more holistic standpoint. And what would that be? So it to me, it comes to something very simple. It's not just about having a visual identity. It's about giving people something to think about, giving people something to speak about. And that's what Jeff Bezos said. Bezos said something about brand, and it was very beautiful. He said that your brand is what others speak about you when you are not in the room. So what is being discussed about you, what is being said about you, or about the work that you have given or the work that you have done, what people discuss about it behind your backs, that is what identifies a great brand as something which is real. And the really important thing then is what people mention about you. What are the adjectives used to represent your work? What is the feeling people, your name evokes in people? And that's the right bit of branding. So it's not about how much you feel about your business. No, no, no. Your brand is all about how, or it is identified by what other people perceive from you, and by what other people think about you, and very importantly, gentlemen and ladies, the story that other people tell about your business. I'm reminded of the great late American activist Maya Angelou at this point, who very, very beautifully said that people will forget about what you said, people will forget about what you did, but people will never forget about what you did. And that is very, I'm sorry, will never forget about how you made them feel. So this is the very basic foundation of having a look into what branding is all about. How do you make people feel when somebody looks at you, talks to you, gets into your Insta feed, or thinks about you, or thinks a specific genre of mehndi art or henna art, and your name were to flash by? What is the feeling people have? And that is what branding is all about. Now, it's a very elementary a question or something that goes around in people's minds many times. So I'm a brand owner. Do I need to think this or that? Well, let's go back and correct ourselves here. Who owns your brand? Are you the owner of your brand? Well, absolutely not. You are not the owner of your brand. You might be the owner on paper of a business that has a brand name, but you might have to go back and check this thing once again, that you are not the owner. You might have created a brand. The owner isn't you. The owner is somebody who is carrying your brand in their minds. Well, it's a great brand. It's a broken brand. It's a brand that they love to talk about. They own your brand. Your clients, the people, they own your brand. So as a business owner, as a entrepreneur, as a marketer, your job is to craft a story, craft an experience, craft an aesthetic as well, sure, but craft a larger holistic experience that is going to inform the story that the public then will regurgitate on your behalf and on behalf of your henna business. Does that make sense? Well, that's what branding is, and that's what we all need to focus on. Uh, I'm also many times intrigued because henna artists quite often they come up with doing one or two of things. They either feel that I need to get into the visual, the aesthetics of creating a brand, and many times they go beyond and they feel that, well, let my art speak. I don't really need to work on this, and this is what again is not all that okay because you know uh, we might not have the logo as a focus, and or maybe we have a logo and then no sales. What would be the other alternative? People figure out that we have the artist. This is what I experienced, and this is where my branding experience with artists goes. We have the artists who possibly might not focus all on branding. They would simply ignore the fact that the brand exists and simply get into creating what they're all about, good art. But does that also, cut ice? Because they're almost overlooked at times. They seem to be very amateurish by people. They, they seem to be misaligned or flighty. Not a word that people should want themselves to be identified as or with or to connect with in your business, and that's not the direction we would want to go either, right? So we need to tread the middle path, neither just be aesthetic and visual heavy, nor be seen as very flighty. And if we want to avoid falling into these two traps, we need to understand that branding is something that's going to require a lot of foundation building on our part to make the brand stable, tall, and beautiful. A lot of you might have, seen the Calgary Tower, might have visited the Calgary Tower. Calgary Tower stands a magnificent almost 191 meters, but almost 60% of the Calgary Tower's weight, almost 60% of Calgary Tower's weight is underground. And this is what a message comes our way. The message is we need to create a solid foundation for building the brand. Whatever number of years you might have in your business, think yourself once again, if the brand is not something that you had wanted, go back, start digging the foundation, because when you start building a foundation, a lot of things would be discovered by you. And this, folks, gentlemen, ladies, today I want to talk to you about why leaning into a brand strategy, why formulating a brand strategy is important, and how they benefit your business. So not that I'm supposed to do much, but I understand that you all know everything about branding. You can look up Google, get yourself worksheets, but I'll just like to play the role. ขาไม่ถึงแล้วลูกกลับมายืนสิกลับมา So that's what I normally do to people. I normally tell people that my role as a brand consultant is nothing but just to help you, put your feet down and maybe rise once again from there. Get your foundations rock solid and straight and happening. There are many elements to branding. There are many things that go into making a great brand. There are many elements that go into creating a brand that people would carry in their hearts and minds. I'd like to start doing things a little differently. Maybe you would figure out what to be done when I say, please avoid these things. So let's go on to the 6 branding sins, as I say, you need to avoid. And what are these, 6 branding sins that you need to avoid? Having a clear message, being engaging and opening a two-way channel of communication, yes, are all winning branding components that can close sales and grow your following. But to truly master the art of branding, you'll also need to avoid what I'm going to share with you, the 6 common cringeworthy mistakes. The first one, not being aware who your audience is, where your audience is, not knowing your audience or your brand position. You're doing yourself and your business a major disservice by not narrowing in your ideal customer, or to who your ideal client should be. You need to take some time to research and really hone in on your customer avatar, creating an outline to understand who your audience is, what their interests are, where they hang out, and what social media channels they use. These are things which probably you might need some time to invest. You might have to put yourself into getting these things to happen. With this, you'll be able to strategically create a branding skeleton for your business. So if you're trying to, this is what I tell people again, if you're trying to target everyone, you're actually targeting no one at all. You need to, I repeat, you need to deliberately decide who your ideal client is going to be. You need to get into, understanding the specific, probably things like where they shop, what they appreciate, what are the values they have. This will elevate your brand tenfold. Trust me, I have done this for our brand. It has really worked wonders for all of us. You can have a conversation with Nimisha, and she'll also echo the same thoughts. And Picasso here was very good about giving his work to the right collectors. Picasso, I would say Picasso was the father of branding for creatives, because he knew exactly what to do. He was sure, branding starts with being great at what you do. So he was great at his work. He was absolutely brilliant at what he used to do. But then, he knew where to go, to whom to talk to, and who should be the people he needs to hang out with. So he was very good about giving his work to the right collectors. That's where painting sells. So he was smart enough to see that during his time, the savviest collectors are contacted, the savviest collectors are met up with. And during his time, though he was a Spanish guy, he used to spend a lot of his time, he had worked out of Paris. So during his time, he could figure out that if, the savviest collectors are in Paris, and he knew if these collectors had his art, it would support its value, or rather it would elevate its value. I'll share a bit about what we did at Mehndi Culture, and before Mehndi Culture, Henna Divine, and Sakshi, the Mehndi Studio. So I'm not saying I had these brand lessons with me ready at that point of time when I was talking to this young lady who had a great Mehndi art, but then uh, she had to get business. Business had to be brought into the organization. Sakshi, the Mehndi Studio, had to happen. We knew no one. So what do we do? Nimisha approached one of the exhibition organizers, and she wanted to put up a stall. Cutting the long story short, the stall did not happen. They said you can put up a smallish kiosk outside and start, displaying things there. Uh, Heavy heart, yes, but broken heart, absolutely not. And this is what she started with. First up, put up a small stall, had no money to really print her stuff and create a printed series of things to present to people. But then she started there. She used to hang out with the right people. People gradually got to know about the great work that she's doing, and they started flocking to her, studio. And the story, continued till a time she herself could organize this exhibition by hiring the costliest venue in her city, and she had her own Karwa Chauth Mela. A massive brand came up, the Karwa Chauth Mehndi Festival. She used to hang out with the right people. The people used to be royalty there, and business started happening and business started coming in. And this is what she does now. She hangs out with the very same people. She knows, who are going to be a part of her future client base. And even today, take it from me, Mehndi culture doesn't have a very forward-looking people. Outreach as in we don't have a marketing arm yet. We don't go out and sell. All that we do is very organic. Think about it. Uh, do not get into the first sin. Second, blindly following trends. This again is not going to make things happen. We easily fall into this trap of comparing ourselves to maybe the competition, what's happening around. Well, what otherwise? Don't do it. If you consistently try to follow the so-called trends out there, you're setting yourself up to get price shocked, and you are not being authentic in your branding approach. And this again you need to avoid. Instead, what I'd recommend, try to put a little piece of yourself in your brand. This will instantly translate into the kind of audience you want to attract. Put yourself, let your brand have a bit of your personality. For example, at Mehndi Culture, we went with, we only have Nimisha as a creative artist. So we always trusted her gut, and we used to never influence her in the design department that you should do this like that. Though I might have been a henna critic or a henna aficionado, knowing a lot of things, I never influence her style. So Nimisha went with designs and creations that she was deeply into. For example, she's been a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and everything she does, everything that comes out of her cone, she has always been, and this is right from her childhood. She's been in this field for almost 4 decades plus, and right from her childhood, 4 decades, 3.5, 4 decades, and right from her childhood, she's been an ardent follower of Lord Krishna. So whatever she does, she dedicates everything to Lord Krishna, and this is the first design I saw of her work that got me into absolute love with the work that she brings out. This was mesmerizing. So whatever she would do, she puts her personality into it. She might create a great big design, but once in a while, looking at the client taste, having had this discussion, she would slip in a Krishna art and Krishna design. You would see a lot of her posts about Krishna, Radha Krishna, Krishna with the flute, and every adornment of Krishna, the flute, the way Krishna would stand, the peacock feather that Krishna adorns. So she's been a self-taught artist. She's always been the innovative type, constantly learning, and she has a penchant to follow the traditional Indian art forms that have been around for couple of thousand years, couple of millennia, something like Warli. Now, Warli is what happened when she wanted to bring around a bit of change in the way things are done in the industry, and also wanted to share something which she loved a lot. So she brought Warli into Mehndi art, and she's the one who gifted the world of henna the skills of Warli art. So she introduced Warli art. She also brought around and introduced something that can be done with great bit of ease, and that is creating peacocks. And left, right, and center, we see peacocks flowing effortlessly from her cone. She's already put up her book. One book is already out, another coming in. And one thing that she never forgot, and that was her love for rangoli, or a form of rangoli that's done on the floor, the ground. And that is from Tamil Nadu, the great old art form, which was class agnostic there. Anyone and everyone who used to live there from ancient times used to do this kolam pattern, the Sikku kolam pattern. And she started sharing what she liked, and she shared it with the world. And now these, as I find, those people who have picked up Sikku kolam from her are able to do it better than her. And that's what a great brand does, makes the industry better because of their own presence. So yes, allow yourself to have a bit of your personality, incorporate what's unique about you into your brand, and let people know and rather respond to your authenticity. So second, do not follow trends. And third, you also got to know what is your differentiator. Not knowing this is an absolutely one of the biggest cardinal sins one person can have. Not understanding your selling point. We got to come off this. The henna industry would have thousands upon thousands of henna artists in the market. Everyone offering the same: great henna service, great art, uh, creative entrepreneurship. Gentlemen and ladies, is a saturated market. What would make you unique? So, you really need to you want to clearly know what value proposition you're offering that's distinct from your competitors. Forget competitors, but let's not take it from that perspective, but that's distinct from what others are offering. Do you offer a different experience? Do you have impeccable customer service? Know what your unique value selling proposition is. Infuse it in your brand over and over again till the time people identify you with that differentiator. For example, Whole Foods is one of the most visible and well-known organic grocery chains in the US. The difference is communicated clearly in the brand's logo. The green, which includes a leaf. So it's important to note that by simply being different, possibly it might not be enough. This is where I also tell people, know what is different, but also ensure you need to actually make a difference to people's lives. This means actively carving out a niche and continually playing to your strengths. Uh, I'm sure those of you who have shopped at Whole Foods know that this grocery chain isn't trying to compete on price. Uh, it's in order for Whole Foods to maintain their niche of fresh, local, and specialty food items. They do not, or rather, they can't compete on price. Uh, Considering their brand identity, that's perfectly fine. So, uh, number three, please remember, you know, uh, this is very important. You need to know your differentiator. That's very, very critical to your success, the success of your business, the success of your brand, and maybe I might also go on and share the success of the entire industry, the way the industry is seen and perceived by people. So that's number three. Number four, uh, not being consistent with what you're offering. Again, at times you would be offering great service. Somebody would have seen, how great an artist you are, or maybe the demeanor, the way you talk to people has been spectacular. Uh, they get attracted to you, and uh, possibly that might not be a day where you are at your best. So, not being consistent is another sin that you need to avoid, and this is also one of my biggest pet peeves, because inconsistency will not only damage your brand's image but will also confuse your audiences. You need to fixate on a single message, express it, go ahead, express it across all your branding. So it might, I'm not saying that it's got to be limited only to your visual identity, but other elements like your what you write, your copy, your marketing, your social media, the way you present your brand on one platform needs to be integrated and consistent with all others. Uh, I know what shiny object syndrome feels like, trying to adapt the newest things newest things out there in the market. But if you steer away from your own original message or brand promise, you're bound to lose out on the audience you worked so hard to build. Uh, this again, you need to focus on. Please, uh, desist from being inconsistent and focus on being consistent each time, every time. There's one more thing that you can do to build a great brand, and that is, or rather, I say, we were talking of sins. So, sin number five, not being able to add value, or rather, deciding not not adding value to your clients, not adding value to what's happening in your industry. So, cardinal sin number five, not adding value. And most brands fall victim to this. When we become business owners, our brains become automatically wired to constantly sell our brand, make money happen. However, this doesn't do any favors to you. In fact, it actually is more harmful than it is beneficial. you know uh, if you constantly push to self promote or promote your brand, you become a manifestation of that pushy, sleazy car salesman that we all try to avoid dealing with. People are way more receptive when you're giving and offering value with zero expectations in return. So when you become empathetic in your branding approach and offer value to your ideal customers, you are cultivating positive and very importantly, you are cultivating positive and rewarding relationships. So what do we do at Mendi Culture? Let me come back to our own business. Uh, how exactly things happen with us at Mendi Culture, because we uh, for our Mendi art, we are known to be one of the uh, better known brands that people would want to come to for bridal henna. So at Mendi Culture, what happens? Uh, Client would approach uh, any one of us. We would push this on to Nimisha, and she would get into a conversation with the client, and the conversation would definitely go on to the kind of choices they like, their preferences, and things, so on and so forth. But it doesn't stop there. She would also be discussing, the Mehndi photography. She'd also be discussing the Mehndi Sangeet. She'd also be discussing the bride's trousseau. Many things are going to come into play. Who is going to be a florist? And many times it has happened that while these discussions happen, she is able to add a lot of value to the thoughts that these people have got in their mind. So right from the prep time to the from preparing for doing it mended bit, she gets herself into becoming a part of the entire wedding process. The photographer, the videographer, everything. And this is the time she would always be adding value by making useful and legit suggestions. Many a times, she would also end up referring better service providers, or maybe she would call and get those people to talk to the bride and the bride's family. So she's now seen in the industry. This is the point of adding value. She's now seen in the industry, and the network that has very carefully been curated, more as a personable and approachable consultant for bridal, events, rather than just be seen as a henna artist. So, well, that's one way of adding value. You might be able to add value through your art. You might be able to add value through your interactions. You can do it many ways. But by avoiding pushy sales tactics, you're also building brand credibility, and this is very important. This is the highest form of compliment. I do get to hear this from a lot of people about Nimisha, that by talking to her, we feel as if we are into Mendi meditation. We are into a state of meditation. We go into a state of trance when she is doing her work, because the words she uses, the choice of language she has, the way she was, she influences everyone around her. It is so spiritual. It is so divine, and I get this from people who don't know my connection with Nimisha as well. I have a classmate who lives in the same city, and she got to be speaking about Mehndi culture and Nimisha, and she said, "Well, you need to meet this person. She is an artist, but she's more of a divine artist, a spiritual, a guru kind of a person." So this is where I'm going to, when I say you need to add value, you also need to add value to your industry. Uh, uh, well, when I say you need to add value to the industry, how can you make your industry be more popular? How can actually this industry be seen with a lot of respect? So I remember, those were the times when the moniker Mendi Wali used to be very prevalent, and we set it upon ourselves. We took it upon ourselves, and I'm talking of mid 2000s, when we wanted to change this Mendi Wali, because Wali in India is not seen with great bit of respect. So we thought, how about being a Mendi artist? And those were not the times we were exposed to the Western, culture. The Western influences of Mendi or Henna were not yet, the doors were not open to us. So we did not know that there's already a designer or an artist being used outside. So we simply started telling people that She is no longer a Mehndi. She's somebody who's going to make your dreams come alive on your, on your hands. She is going to give you a great bit of art, and she is a creator of great art. So she'll be a Mehndi artist and a Mehndi designer. That is one way of her influencing and making and adding value to the industry. The second, we wanted the world to sit up, or rather, everyone across the country to sit up and take note of Surat as a city that can add value to the cultural propagation of Indian culture. How to do this? She set out to talk to some of the people across the Surat Municipal Corporation, and what came up was a design of an event which till date is the world's only event which saw 24,052 girls. Yes, I am, not exaggerating. These are records which are already in print. 24,052 girls came under a single roof at the same time for half an hour. Everyone was doing henna on their hands. And this is how we add value. Uh, well, when we say we add value to the industry, add value to the client, I'm also going to refer to a smallish survey I wanted to carry out before I did this branding workshop for all of you. I wanted to do this survey to find out who are the influencers of the industry, who are the people who are adding value, and by uh, not even by design that I need to add value. They are being themselves, their own individual personalities are coming up and coming out, and they are giving to everyone around. And I wanted to create a best henna brand survey. So I sent out a list of 20 questions and also told people you can add more questions. So these 20 questions were sent out to almost 100 people across the world, right from Morocco to the UK, US, and Australia, say Russia, many countries. We wanted to have this data from across the world, and I put up these 20 questions without putting up any choices to choose from, any names to select from. So there were no multiple choice statements that were given. I wanted to collect answers. I could not get definite answers for all the 20 questions or all the 20 points I put up, but I did get definite answers for a good number of them. I'm going to be sharing that survey with you with a disclaimer that this is simply a statistical collation of what I have received. By no means this is the final word about people who are mentioned here or about those who are not mentioned here. And it is very much possible that some of the brands which I find iconic, or some of the brands that you love a lot, might not have been featured here. But I simply wanted to sound and be more authentic when I present to you some of these names. So the first thing I wanted to ask people, and the first thing I wanted to figure out, like I said, you need to be able to add value to your industry. I wanted, and I put up this question: who? And this was across the world. Who, according to you, is the most generous person in the entire henna industry? Who is the giver of the henna industry? And lo and behold, there she is, Neeta Desai Sharma, the giver, the most generous person in the henna industry. To me, it was not a surprise because I've had the privilege of being hosted by her. I've had the privilege of meeting her. But then, to be very honest, she was not the only person who I've met. I've met so many people, but the entire world says Neeta Desai Sharma, and I agree to it for a very simple reason. Uh, our experiences go beyond one or two meetings. Our experiences are more global with her, wherever she is, wherever she would be, India, UK, or US. She's always been thinking. If I'm in front of her, she'd be thinking about, hey, Himadri, you are not an artist. What can I give you? What can I offer you? If it was for my birthday or something I like, she would specifically, bring things from the US to UK to just give it to me. Or maybe when she hosted me at her home, to see to that I'm comfortable, she goes and invests in an additional airbed. The giver, never taking anything from anyone. And I've also received several complaints from people, complaints from good wishers and well wishers of Neeta Ben, who says that why don't you tell her to be a little more business right, little more politically correct when it comes to uh, telling people that you owe me this much, or for this what I've given you, you should pay me. Nita Ben says, I enjoyed what I do, and I love what I'm giving, so let me be what I am. So it comes to her naturally, generosity, giving. I wanted to, also figure out from people who is the most responsive in the industry. And again, almost unanimous, everyone. Joey Anderson, Mendika Joey. Well, she is the most responsive. She gives inputs, information, responds to any question that I would have to ask, of her, and is always ready with a suggestion that adds value to the way I do my business. Uh, I know this, but I thought, because the next category I wanted to know, I thought I know this, but not everyone would be giving me this name. So I wanted to know, who do you figure out, or who do you think is the most knowledgeable, the most comprehensive henna authority in the world? Name is absolutely unanimous here again, Catherine Cartwright Jones. And if you were to just look her up, work on Google, you'll go through reams and reams of it. I wanted to know from the world who is the best in creating mandalas, and I was surprised because I was not aware of this brand. I was not aware of the person behind the brand, and I had to invest a bit of time to understand that why is she the authority on mandalas. Then I saw what amazing bit of mandala instruction she has, what great bit of contribution she has been making to people, and that is Syra from Syra Skins. I wanted to ask people, who do you find to be the most relatable Mehndi artist, or the most personable Mehndi artist in the country, or beyond your country, wherever you are? And I thought it would be somebody I have in mind, but then again, my suggestions went in for a further learning curve, and that is Poonam from Poonam's Mehndi in Mumbai. So I'm pretty intrigued by henna jewelry, and I also wanted to ask people who would be the best artist at creating henna jewelry. Now, the name that came up, the name is not a surprise, but the name as an authority for henna jewelry, that did come up, as a surprise, because I've seen more of her other work. But when that name came up for henna jewelry, and that is Prashanta from Divya Henna, the name that came up was so beautiful, because I again relate a lot to the work that she does, a lot to her coaching and teaching. Her jewelry are great pieces of perfection, great art in them, and impeccable bit of henna jewelry. So who do you think would be the best with human figures? Well, it's a guy who is almost next door to us in Surat, Harin Dalal. I wanted to ask people who is the best with social media engagement, and here we find Tatiana Kilinskaya from Home Henna Home, and I've again been a great fan of her work since many years. So while we were, working for the mini marathon all male crew, I also thought, let me ask people who, according to you, the best male artist. And here we have got Chetan Panchal from Vapi, the best male henna artist, the best mixologist. I thought she's the best host. Well, Hiral, from San Jose, the best mixologist. Of course, I've seen her workshop. I've been to her lab, and I know why people vote her to be the best mixologist. For me, I also find her to be one of the best hosts ever. She has a great guy as for her husband, a darling of a guy you would love to spend time with. Hiral, if you're watching, say hi to Neeraj. Who are the best organizers of henna events? Henna Huddle in the UK, Mark Foster, Kiran Sahib, and we've got we were facing a split vote here, sprinkling with Nita Ben, who is the best in flowers, floral designs, wines and leaves. Again, a unanimous name, and Once again, I find Kiran to be a great human being. I might not have always looked at Kiran as an artist, but more as a person, more as a very loving human being, full of empathy, full of joy of being a giver. These days, we are finding an absolute brilliant bit of online coaching happening. So it was very obvious that I asked people this question: who do you find to be the best online coach? This name, well, I know how hard she has worked to get people's vote on this, but I never expected Nimisha to be voted as the best online henna coach. I thought she might be seen as somebody who has the best. A series of henna for hair to be presented to people. And the world finds her to be the best online henna coach. And the last unanimous answer that I got was about the best bridal henna artist. And this is Bharti from UK, Bharti Sangani. Undoubtedly, I got introduced to her a couple of years back in London while I was teaching at Henna Huddle, and she undoubtedly is one of the best henna artists for the brides. So this is where I say you got to influence your industry, add value to the industry, and make it better. Which brings us almost to the closing bit. The sixth sin that you need to avoid. What is the sixth sin? Not having a story, or rather not having an honest story to tell. And this is something which uh, please folks, never get into this, never get into not having a story and an honest story to tell people. There needs to be a reason people have to come to you. There needs to be a connect that people need to have with you when they come to you. So what is your story? What is it that you stand for? Because if you don't stand for something, it is said you will fall for anything. So what is your story? Well, you're selling a product, sure, but first and foremost, it is a superior product, great, but people would go back and would want to understand what is it that got you off onto this journey. You are into a great service, great product, the best, the superior, but what got you started off? What about your passion? What about your likes, dislikes, the delight that you bring in? So that it's not about what that they really need to look into. It's also about who that motivates consumers. That matters a lot. So you need to have a story to tell. I'd like to share with you our story. So Sakshi was our solo studio with only Nimisha. Hina Divine came in, and it was an effort by me, Sarita, and Nimisha. And then we went on from Henna Divine, which was fairly successful as a henna company. We went on to create Mehndi Culture. And why Mehndi Culture? Mehndi Culture, because I had an experience when I was in Surat. I had an interaction with an old lady who was begging, and somehow I did not look at her. I was busy in a conversation with Nimisha. She went off limping, and I saw that there's this old lady, a beggar, limping. It hurt me a lot. It pained a lot that why is she limping, and I did not even offer her anything. So I went up, talked to her. The conversation, whatever it followed, was absolutely gut wrenching. I had tears flowing down my eyes, and whatever I had with me, I gave it to her, bought food and gave it to her. When I came back and sat in the car, Nimisha was all angry at me. She said, why are you shedding tears for her? Why are you crying if you can't do anything for her? At that point of time, it was very painful for me that, come on, Nimisha, have a heart. Don't you think you need to really have some empathy for this lady? And it was very painful to me because she was showing absolute zero emotions at that point of time. Or maybe so I thought. She said, if you can't do anything for her, why cry? And that is where I decided I need to start doing something for old ladies like her, because she was almost like my mom. My mom also has a limp because she has a knee arthritic pain. And I thought, in India, if I can make things happen through an initiative that can connect with them, I would love to see to it that there is not a single woman begging, or single old woman on the streets of India. And that went on to seeing to it that this initiative that we start with takes not only women who are old off the street, takes destitutes off the street, take these unwanted young girls off the street, because people ogle at them, that they're mentally not very stable, so half clad or unclad, and people would just either look at them, or they might avoid them and just move on. Nobody does anything. So that's where I thought, this is the category, these are the people I'd like to do something about. I'd like to empower women through a business that I can bring to them. And this is when Henna Divine went on from being just a Mehndi company to another organization that we crafted, and that was Mehndi Culture, where we influence lives. We want to make lives of women, girls, women who are commercial sex workers, women in prisons, women in shelter homes. We want to make their lives better. And this is what we are doing for the last many years. We pick up women and girls from these places. We train them to be a Mehndi artist, henna artists. We train them and bring them up to a state of expertise or proficiency where they can not only give great art, they can interact with our high net worth individual customers, because we are also one of the most premium, one of the most costly brands that the country has. So we train them, we bring them up out of the prison, out of hospital, out of the prostitution centers, and get them into this henna business. I'd like to share a few beautiful pictures. You might have seen some that Nimisha posted yesterday, of some very beautiful, beneficiaries of ours. These are young girls from the physically disabled, category, a center called Apang Manav Mandal in Ahmedabad. Uh, we went there, trained them. So these girls who can't walk, but look at the smile. They squeal in delight after having done some great work. Look at this, a picture. So much of uh, intense joy exuding from everyone. And that's Nimisha with her. This is Sarita addressing an entire group of girls. Uh, you know, we feel privileged, we feel blessed that we are able to touch our industry and make the industry, and we are able to make lives better for everyone around us better. This is the work, one of the training sessions, the work that brought so much of delight. You can check out, this.
Need this water. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
So that's it from me, folks. That's it from my desk for now. I've had a great time sharing some of my experiences by telling you to avoid certain things. I hope I've been able to draw you towards your own drawing board. What can be your strategy for creating your brand into a brand that rocks? It's been once again a great honor, a great privilege, a great pleasure being on this platform. Nithaben and everybody at Henna Artists of the World Unite, thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think you have some questions that are still unanswered, if you would need some more suggestions, you can always text me up at Himadri Sinha on Instagram, write me a mail on himadrisinha@gmail.com, and I will be at your service. So until next time, it's goodbye from me. Bye bye. Have a great time. Enjoy your weekend, and do watch the next session. Somebody who is known to be the happy henna guy. So Jed Rao is coming in next. So wish you a great time with him. All the best. Thank you so much. Bye bye. See you.